Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Please hit the subscribe button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. Please hit the bell button to get an alert every time I upload new content. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That would make me very happy. Today's video is a fairly chatty get ready with me doing this. This is using the makeup that I used on my honeymoon. I filmed a video in London, but it was the day after the London Bridge bombing, and it was just a little bit too dour. So I'm gonna do this instead. And this is the same stuff that I used that day with a couple of exceptions, and you'll see what they are in the video. And also a walkthrough. I intended to do a video with my full honeymoon, but I got so wrapped up in Paris that that's all that I got through. So today is just gonna be Paris, and then I'll also do a separate video about a get ready with me talking about what we did in London. So if you'd like to see how I got this look, and if you'd like to hear a little bit and see some pictures about what we did on the Paris portion of our honeymoon, please keep watching. Right, firstly, I'm sorry, but there's some gardening happening outside and all my windows are closed, but there just may be some raking noises. I have already moisturized. I have already used my Milani Make It Last setting spray, and I've already used SPF. I found on my honeymoon, in spite of the fact that I brought a lot of eye primers with me, the only thing that I really ever used was my MAC Painterly Paint Pot, the Pro Longwear one. I feel like when I used to use it before it was Pro Longwear, it didn't really give me much help in terms of, it was good in terms of color correcting, but it wasn't something that I ever turned to for something to help my eye color stay on longer. But I found that since they've changed, the formula changed, I don't know when it changed, but it did. It didn't used to be Pro Longwear, that I prefer it. So I use this a lot. And I also used my Naked Ultimate Basics, which I primarily brought because the mirror, I'm not going to show you because it's giant. I primarily brought because the mirror was so good, but the shadows are really good too. Just lots of nice, neutral, matte, Naked Ultimate Basics. I'm just going to keep applying, and I'll post what it is that I'm using. Everything that I'm using are the things that I used on my honeymoon, with the exception of these. These are my mascaras. I've moved on from the little sample size, which are really good, but I pretty much used them up while I was gone, to the big boys of my Too Faced Better Than Sex and my Benefit Roller Lash. So we started, and I'm just going with light colors here. I'm starting with nude, and this is a BH Cosmetics. I don't know what it is. It doesn't say what it is, but it's just a big fluffy brush. So we flew into Heathrow on, so I'm actually going to keep applying things. I'm not going to tell you what I'm using, but I'll put it on the screen just because I want to be able to talk to you and not keep going back to what it is that I'm using. So I guess it really just will be a chatty get ready with me, but then I will post all the things that I'm using on the screen. So we started at Heathrow. In spite of the fact that our initial trip was going to be in Paris, I am a big fan of Virgin Atlantic, and Virgin Atlantic does not fly into Charles de Gaulle. And I actually am also a big fan of arriving in Paris in the city. When you go to de Gaulle, this is a Zoeva brush, Zoeva 228 crease. When you go to Paris and you arrive at Charles de Gaulle, it just seems so far away. It's not in the city. But when you arrive at Gare du Nord, it's like, boom, there you are right there. And there's something about that that's just really grounding to me. Obviously, you can just take a train, take the RER or whatever to get into Paris. But there's something that I really like about just arriving in Paris. So we went to St. Pancras, which also has, I don't know if it's England's longest or the world's longest champagne bar, but we went there. and it was lovely. St. Pancras is a really nice station to just hang out at. Lots of shops and just places to kind of chill out. And then we took the Eurostar from St. Pancras to Gare du Nord. And what I'm doing now, actually everything else has just been kind of building up cool pretty much. Now I'm going in with Extra Bitter, which is kind of the warmer color in the palette. I just wanted to point that out. So then we were exhausted. So we left home at about, our plane left at about 5 on Thursday, and we arrived their time. It's a 9-hour difference in Paris and an 8-hour difference in London. We were very tired. We didn't really sleep very much on the plane, and it was just exhausting. So we arrived at the hotel. We were staying at a hotel in the Luxembourg Gardens, not in the Luxembourg Gardens, but near the Luxembourg Gardens. This is the Viseart Petit Pro. We used a lot of this too, going in with the white. And so we slept, obviously, and then we got up the next day, and I'm probably not going to be able to give you as much detail as I can of the first couple days, because then everything kind of bleeds into one. But I know we went to Luxembourg Gardens the first day. I was having some foot pain. I hurt myself in a dance class, so I wasn't walking as much as I would normally have wanted to be, which was annoying, but was still able to get around. We took Uber a lot. There were no lifts in London or in Paris, so we took Uber a lot. It was nice to really have that as an option. We took cabs sometimes, but depending on where you are, sometimes it's hard to hail a cab, and Uber was a really nice option. We spent a lot of time, because we were staying near the Luxembourg Gardens, we spent a lot of time wandering around the Latin Quarter. We spent a lot of time also in the Marais, not because we were staying near the Luxembourg Gardens, but that's just a neighborhood that I like a lot. So we spent a lot of time there. We also spent a lot of time in St. Paul, which is an older neighborhood and is nearer. A lot of the pictures that I took are of Invaders, of Space Invader. He is a graffiti artist who works in tile and also now in Rubik's Cubes. So I know I have some pictures of St. Paul, and I know I have some pictures of the Marais, but I feel like most of them are of Invaders, so I apologize for that. I love what he does. It's really, really interesting, and it really, I think, respects the space that he's putting it in. I mean, it is graffiti, and there are some people that think it's terrible, but there are a lot of people. In fact, there are some people who take it down when it's on their building, but other people, I'll post a picture of one that's been covered in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, and I think that person, I don't know the story of it, but I think that whoever owns the building probably just realizes what it is and covered it up to protect it. We went to Colette, which is just fabulous. How do I describe Colette? Colette is the coolest store in the world, probably. But you don't have to be, I'm not very cool. I'm not cool at all. You don't have to be cool to go there, but it's the coolest store in the world. There was a time a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when I was looking at books there, and you know, sometimes you get engrossed in a book, and they're all like coffee table, like beautiful fashion and design books. But you know, sometimes you're just looking at a book and you lose track of what's happening around you. And when I looked up, Karl Lagerfeld was like over there reading a book too, or engrossed in a book. It's just one of those places, and lots of really cool Japanese kids, but I love that store. I've always loved that store. I hope I never go in. I have never felt unwelcome in that store. I've never felt, it's weird because it is a really cool store, but it's not a place where I feel unwelcome, if that makes any sense. And actually I had ordered prior to going there because the candles are heavy. I order a lot of candles from there. They have really good candles. So I ordered some candles ahead of time because they're heavy and I didn't want to carry them home. But there I got this room spray. I'll go get it. It's hard to explain. It's a smell. All right, so this is it. The company is Lola James Harper, and this one is the Music Studio on Truffaut Street. And they do all these different fragrances that are supposed to be evocative of places. Okay, so their page says, the Truffaut Studio is a music recording studio in Paris where we worked on all of our albums. The studio is at the top of the 5th floor of an old Parisian building built in 1870. It's just under the roof of the building so we can see the old oak beams. That's neat about some buildings in Paris especially. Sometimes you can just see the exposed oak beams. And the place is filled with African and Oriental percussions with a silver drum kit and loads of electric and acoustic guitars. We love this place to create, compose, and write songs. We recorded there with a lot of demos. Doesn't really say. Oh, it says cashmere, rose, and musk. But it's also woody. I just love this. So I bought 2 more bottles of this. I had one. I have a couple candles, but I just wanted more because the smell is so amazing. And after that, we went for a walk at the Tuileries Garden, which is really pretty. So many pretty gardens in Paris. And then down to Concorde. And that's also really beautiful. Strangely, I don't know why the fountains weren't working anywhere. The fountain at Champ de Mars, none of the fountains at the Tuileries Garden, none of the fountains, oh no, the fountains at the Tuileries Garden were working. The fountains that weren't working were the ones on either side of Concorde, the ones that have the kind of the people in them. But the big one at Tuileries Garden was working. And I think the one at the Luxembourg Gardens wasn't. But I did notice there were a lot of fountains that weren't working, which didn't really make sense. I don't think that Paris is in a drought, but even if they were, fountains are just using the same water again and again. So I wasn't clear on why that was. And we went by the Tuileries Garden several times, and every time we went there, the fountains were dry. This is my little tiny milk blur stick. I guess I could use the big one now, but this is almost gone. This really was good. I like this a lot. I did go to the giant pharmacy on Rue de Four, City Pharma, and I don't know if I'm the only one that has beauty shopping dreams. I don't have a lot of shopping dreams. I feel like the Dos Equis guy, is he Dos Equis? The guy that says that he doesn't drink beer, but when he does. I don't generally have shopping dreams, but when I do, it's usually beauty. And it's usually beauty and not makeup for some reason. It's usually like oils and serums and sunscreen, lots of amazing sunscreen. And that's exactly what it was. I went there very early with my incredibly supportive husband, who I think next time probably would just go get a coffee somewhere and wait for me. But man, you do have to go in with a list. I didn't get everything that I wanted. It's just enormous. It's 2 stories and just aisles and aisles and aisles and aisles and aisles. And going early is smart because it gets really crowded. I also hear that it gets understocked. When I was there, sometimes the aisles were full with people, like customers, but sometimes the aisles were full with people just restocking the shelves. It was like someone takes it and someone restocks it. It was one of those kind of things. And that was just amazing. I think the sunscreen is what I'm excited most about, although the water sprays and the dry shampoos and just all of it was amazing. I also got a lot of lip balms to give to my friends as souvenirs. We went to, sorry that I'm just jumping all over the place, but I'm trying to think about, I have a list of things, but I'm not looking at it, I'm just thinking about it. We went to, my favorite metro stop is called Arts and Métiers, and it looks like you are in this giant Jules Verne kind of time machine submarine kind of thing. It's beautiful. And I love that metro station. So we were not going to that area. We weren't using that metro stop, but we got off at that stop just to spend some time in the train station because I'm a giant dork. But hopefully you think the picture's pretty too. We had a lot of amazing food. We had a lot of amazing food and we met a lot of amazing people. We went to one bar in particular, and at that bar we met a couple of amazing people who just turned us on to a lot of different places, and it kind of snowballed from there. Just nice people. Good people that I'm still in touch with. Something that I'll mention is I did bring my RCMA No Color Powder, but I never set my under eyes because my eyes were feeling kind of dry. So I was mostly just using my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. And this is a fancy Wayne Goss brush to set my under eyes. Lots of amazing food, lots of amazing people. We did go to Notre Dame. We didn't go inside. Every time we went there, the line to get in was just incredibly long, and it was hot, and my foot was just not good. We'd both been there before. What we did go to, and what I don't have a picture of, is the archaeological crypt under Notre Dame. This, I will point out, this is my Viseart Theory palette in Ablaze. And what I used mostly from this, I used two things. I used the blush, but I also used the bronzer because I kept getting tan. I did not mean to. I used a 50 SPF every day, mostly my body, more than my face actually, which is why I was making up for it on my face. So I was using bronzer, which I don't normally use, and I was using this Real Techniques multitask brush. Yeah, I wore a lot of SPF, and I didn't get as burned on my face as I did on my body, but I think sometimes I just miss things on my chest or on my neck, so I was using bronzer, which was unusual for me, and I'm putting it on the high points of my cheeks. And actually, I'm giving you a lot of detail, and I'm realizing that I'm kind of almost done with my makeup. So I think this is gonna be Paris. And I'll do another one with a different, palette. Not using all the things that I used on my honeymoon, but I'll do another one with, well, I'm just gonna keep you guessing. But I did buy a palette in England, and I'll use that for the next one, for the one about England. So I'll just finish up Paris today. We went to the Eiffel Tower, which I think I already mentioned. We went to Notre Dame, didn't go inside. We went to the Archaeological Museum, which is underneath Notre Dame, which is stunning. And then I also took a picture of my favorite gargoyle. I have a favorite gargoyle. He has a little helmet on. He's my favorite gargoyle. Didn't use a lot of highlighter on the trip because it was pretty warm and I was giving my own natural glow. We went to L'Hotel. L'Hotel, do you ever do you ever watch a movie and the person in the movie asks for a beer and not for like the specific kind of beer that he or she wants? L'Hotel just means the hotel. And we got into a cab to go there, and they asked where we were going, and we said to L'Hotel, and they kind of looked at us blankly like, there are thousands of hotels in Paris. Which one do you want to go to? But we wanted to go to that one. It is near the École de Beaux-Arts. It is beautiful. It is where Oscar Wilde died, where he said, and I am totally butchering and paraphrasing, but either the wallpaper goes or I do, because apparently the wallpaper was so hideous that he just couldn't stand it anymore. And that's probably an urban legend, but I do know that that's attributed to him, and he did die in the hotel. And they have this amazing bar. Every time I've been there, it's been pretty empty. There's sometimes have been like a couple other people there, but for the most part it was empty. And we went there on a Saturday, and we got this thing called the Apothecary's Choice. And basically the bartender comes over to you and asks you like what you like, what you don't like, and then scuttles away, and you can hear her. It was a woman, but you can hear the bartender, the apothecary, just clanking and clamoring, and it's very exciting. And then they approach you with this kind of apothecary bottle and glasses, lovely, lovely crystal glasses, and ours had crushed rose petals in them, and it was just holy mackerel, amazing. It was a rum drink. Rum is having kind of a renaissance in Paris, and when I realized that, I kind of tried to order rum. A lot of places don't make good cocktails. This place makes amazing cocktails, and anywhere that I went to that seemed like they were going to be able to make a good cocktail, I would order something made with rum, and I was never disappointed. Last few things. Okay, I'm looking over at my list. So there are 3 more things that I want to mention. We did go to the Canal Saint-Martin. So pretty. A little dirty. You kind of have to ignore the fact that it's dirty, but that's totally okay. we got a bottle of champagne. And had it on the bank of the canal. Wandered around for a while. Lots of interesting stores. There's a restaurant that we didn't go to, but I've heard about. It's a pizza place, and apparently you order your pizza and then they give you a balloon, like a pink balloon with a number on it maybe, and then they come and find you on the canal based on your balloon number, which we did not do, but that sounds like a neat idea. Do we eat there? Yes, we went to a place called Chez Prune, and we had cheese. It was really hot, so we weren't very hungry, but we were a little peckish, so we had cheese, and I think it was an apple and some wine. We drank a lot of wine and a lot of water. It's important to drink water to keep yourself hydrated. But the canal was beautiful. We went to the Grand Musée de Parfum, the big museum of perfume. It was amazing. The first few floors were kind of I mean, they were fine. There were a lot of history of perfume and places to kind of stick your nose in where you're supposed to press a button and see if you can smell it or not to see if you're kind of a super smeller, and other things that you could press and you'd get a waft of something that maybe you could smell, maybe you couldn't. But the two things that were the most impressive, one of them was, and I'll insert a picture here, or maybe even a video, was a room that was supposed to emulate childhood. So smells from childhood, I know, like raspberries and madeleines, and I think like clay, like play clay, that kind of a thing. And I'm only 5'2", so that kind of wasn't fair because of a lot of things in there were really high. There were only a certain amount of things. I suppose if you had a child there, you could lift the child up, but that wasn't happening with me. This is the brush that I use. This is my Mariah Carey. It's the only thing that I bought from the MAC Mariah Carey collection because it's just so sparkly, on my Charlotte Tilbury. But the most amazing thing, and I'll insert a picture of this here, two pictures, one of the list and one of the actual exhibit. So I think there were 25 fragrances, and these are 25 really common components in fragrance. Some natural, some synthetic. And there were these little balls that you could turn to be a specific language. I think it was English, French, German, and Spanish. And then you lifted it and you smelled it, and you could smell that individual fragrance. And then you put the ball to your ear and it told you the story of the origin of the fragrance or the history of the fragrance and the use of the fragrance. And wow, that was probably the most, if not the most, one of the most innovative museum exhibits that I've seen in my entire life. It was totally worth the trip. We went to another museum. We didn't really go to very many museums. We went to the museum where all the Space Invader stuff was, the Musée de Herbe. And then we went to the Palais de Tokyo. That was closed for exhibits. It was open just to kind of wander through. It's a neat space. Sorry that there wasn't anything up. And the last thing that I will talk about and insert a picture about in Paris was La Durée, which is fancy macaron place, which we went to for, I don't know what I was thinking. We ordered brunch, literally brunch, which is not really anything that they do. It's becoming something that they do more in Europe, but it's more an American thing. And I was thinking it was just going to be a tea kind of tray of, you know, profiteroles and macarons and whatnot, but it was brunch. We were kind of useless by the end of that. It was delicious. There was a fruit course and an egg course. The egg was this soft-boiled egg with this asparagus aspic on the outside. It was just out of control. It was delicious. But we were kind of done for, so I think we probably went home and took a nap after that. And we spent a lot of time just relaxing and napping and hanging out together, and it's a pretty amazing trip to be on with him. We both had spent a decent amount of time in Paris, but never together, and our Parises are different. So it was nice to be able to share that part of it with each other. So that's part 1. Part 2 I will film and post, and that will be kind of a walk through the London portion of our honeymoon. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the time that you spend with me. There's a lot to do in the world and a lot to do on YouTube, and the fact that you took a little time to spend with me makes me very happy. So thank you. Please subscribe if you haven't yet already. Hit the bell button to get an alert, and if you like this, give it a like, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care.